wised up today. Oh, I've got baby fingerprints all over my glasses. What's up guys? Welcome back. Today we are going to be doing an exercise or several exercises in color theory. You guys know that this is what I nerd out about the most is cool and warm, temperature, tone, what have you, and manipulating those things to create believable light and shadow on the face, create illusions that I feel like are the most flattering to our skin tones, and to learn how to manipulate the products that we have in order to do so. And today I'm going to be using that as an opportunity to share with you the two new shades. These are limited edition shades from Salt New York. So this is Lilac and this is Tangerine. And this color combination did harken back to a couple of other releases that we have talked about on my channel previously. I'm going to be swatching these against everything that they remind me of, and I'm also going to basically do one half of my face in all of the lilac tones and the other half of my face in all of the tangerine tones, and then swap, and we will watch what they do, which is, it's going to be fascinating. It might not be completely airtight in terms of looking the same side to side, but we'll be able to see what the colors do on my skin, how they respond to one another, how they kind of cancel each other out, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts at the end. But I thought that that sounded fun. I know a lot of you guys like to nerd out with me on this stuff, so let's go ahead and jump in. Hello. I have fully embraced the fact that my hairline is just going to be stupid for a while all of my postpartum hair grows back in. It's doing something funky right here, and then I have this like halo of hair that I'm gonna have to find an elegant solution for at some point, but right now I'm not worried about it. It's not on camera. So the first thing that I'm going to put on is a foundation. I want it to be really lightweight because I don't want, I mean, as much as I can help it, I want to have the colors be true. I don't want them to like pick up a bunch of my complexion product, but most people are going to be applying these with some complexion product under them, so I figure it's realistic to show it. So use something lightweight here. This is the M Cosmetics, what do they call this? Daydream Cushion. I already have an SPF on, but this does have some SPF in the formula as well. I also started trying a brand called CLE that I've been seeing around a lot of different places, and CLE has a self-adjusting CCC cream that is also an SPF. It comes out of the tube white with little speckles in it, and then it turns the color of my skin, and it is wild. But it is a little bit higher coverage, so I didn't want to use that today. It's just very, very dewy, and it's a little bit more kind of titanium dioxide looking on the skin, a little bit more reflective, and I haven't really gotten my head completely around the formula, so I didn't want to use that when we're going to be experimenting with so many other things today, but it's going to be included in a future review. I actually ended up giving my mom my compact of Kackie, the Future Skin cushion, because I had it in the shade Alabaster, and it was about a shade too dark for me, and she ended up falling in love with it while she was here. And I was like, well, that'll be a really good excuse for me to go ahead and buy the shade that I should have, which is Aura. And she was over the moon because she's obsessed with the formula. She was like, this is the prettiest thing I've ever put on my face. And she also took, I don't know, a bunch of other stuff with her. It was a really fun exercise to have her come and like shop my stash. It was really, really cool because obviously, you know, she's my mom. She's 30 years older than me. And so seeing what worked on her that also worked on me or didn't work on her kind of thing was really, really interesting. But I also took the opportunity to go on Skin Store because they were having 25% off of Kackie, which they probably still are right now. I put it on my Instagram, and I bought all, yes, all, to the tune of over $300 of the Kackie foundation products. And I'm going to do a video helping to demystify the differences between all of them, because I realized if I have a question about those things, somebody else probably has a question about them too. So look forward to that. Also, the answer is yes, I'm on Dayquil today. If it's my first video you're watching, Dayquil makes me kind of loopy, so just, you know, brace yourself. Going to also really quickly go in with my Salt New York palette to build contour and a little bit of the light bronzer, because when these colors get on the skin, they're very basic looking. They're very much editorial colors that you're using to enhance a flush. They don't look native to my skin, and so I want to go ahead and draw in the illusions, the contour and the bronzer, so that when we work on top of it, it looks more real. So here is the Salt New York contour. I have been switching off between this and the Patrick Ta, depending on whether I'm doing a powder look or not, because a powder look, I will pull out the Patrick Ta because it has a powder bronzer in it, and so it's a hybrid. And then, I mean, not a hybrid formula, but it ends up being a hybrid once it's on your skin, and this is more if I'm already working with just creams. And I just got the Wayne Goss powder palette in the mail with bronzer and the contour, and I haven't even had a chance to try it yet, but I am so flipping excited to try it. And I do want to extend formal condolence to Kackie G, friend of mine who owns Salt New York. She did post yesterday that her grandmother passed, and she's gonna be offline for a while, understandably. So I want you to know you're in our thoughts, Kackie. It's so sad. So that's contour, and we will go with the light bronzer. If this is the first Salt New York palette video that you're watching from me, these are the Cream Tint Pro. She released the Salt New York magnetic palettes, which I have the large one and this mini one of. And then later down the line came the Cream Tint Pro. Actually, it was the other way around. It was the large palette, then the Cream Tint Pro, then the mini came out. And I have loved these since the beginning, but they were reformulated at one point so that they could remove the silicones. So that is the difference. I think that the only real difference that I note in the formula is that they're slightly less opaque. They're a little bit more translucent, which I think actually lends them better to even more skin tones and stuff like that, and also to being able to be worn on a lip. And I use this contour shade absolutely all the time. As you can see, this is, I think, the fourth one that I've hit pan on. And this doesn't look like a bronzer shade, and they're not technically bronzers, they're just kind of skin tone colored creams. And this is the light one, but the way that it works on me is a peach bronze looking color once it gets on my skin. And as you can see with the Cosmetics, the cushion on, and then this, you can still see freckles and everything. I am gonna do a little tiny bit of concealer before we go in with the new shades. So I'm going in with my Pat McGrath. I have really been digging this. And I know I said I didn't really like it underneath my eyes, but I'd rather just use it and just use a little bit of it and not cake it all up than to pull two out. I'm just lazy. And it has more coverage than the Kosas. I love the Kosas, but that one is a little bit like medium buildable. This one's like, I don't know. It's a little bit more full coverage, but it still has a really nice dewy finish. It's super agreeable. It's pretty miraculous stuff. So I have used these separately and on top of each other, but I haven't done this exact experiment yet where I do one whole side of my face in one color set and one in the other. So that'll be interesting. And I do have, I guess, kind of a passion, at least for the lilac persuasion of this little magic trick. I am a big fan of adjuster shades. When we're talking about an adjuster shade, usually I'm talking about, for me, something that's going to cool off the yellow tones in something, because things tend to go a little bit too peachy on me sometimes. So I formulated specifically for those needs this lipstick right here from a brand called Ferdinand, and I call this Finesse because it is a balmy formula that is a very, very lilac-y purple, and it will finesse any shade of nude or a coral or something like that that will pull a little bit too peach or a little bit too orangey yellow on me, and it will dial it back off the precipice and make it look a little bit more natural and native on my skin. You guys, my mom was just, again, shopping my stash, playing with makeup. She was really in love with this Disney by House of Sillage lipstick formula, but when she got it on, she was like, ugh, I thought it was gonna work, but it's just a little bit too peachy beige. And I pulled this thing out, and she put that on her lips, and she went, oh my God, Kackie, you're a genius. You need to mass produce this. It's absolutely brilliant. She's like, that just changed my life. And I was like, okay. I mean, I guess it's my mom. She's always going to think I'm a genius, but she thought that this was just about the coolest thing in the world. And I haven't gotten as much use out of the other one that I made, but this is the shade Divine, and it is basically designed to do the opposite. It's supposed to kind of pull things back that are a little bit too blue or a little bit too lilac-y or cool, and it will make it a little bit more rosy, reddy pink. And you can also do that with like a yellow. I think that when Victoria Beckham did her Estee Lauder collab, it was a little bit weird at the time. People were like, what is that? But she came out with a yellow lipstick, and it was an adjuster lipstick. And if that's what you need, then that was probably a holy grail for you. But if it's not, you're probably like, why would I ever want a yellow lipstick? But that's why. So Let's start by swatching the two new shades here, Tangerine and Lilac. I, of course, was over the moon that my girl was doing a lilac shade for all the reasons I just mentioned. And while Tangerine looks quite red in the pan, you can see it is very orange on the skin. And I don't want to say that these are only adjuster shades. They can be worn on their own depending on your skin tone. There are plenty of people who, you know, can wear an orange blush just all on its own, or a lilac blush just on its own. I'm gonna start by swatching these next to some of the things that I think are relevant comparisons against them, just because, you know, I anticipate people asking. Now, this is not aiming to find dupes. This is for reference, so that if you're curious, like you have one of these in your stash already, or if you have been kind of wondering which one you should go for, this is a good way to show the differences between a bunch of this idea of these colors from brand to brand. So here we have the two new shades. This is the Lilac again and Tangerine. And then I swatched this right here is Kosas Eighth Muse. Gonna be a struggle to remember all of these. This is just one of the like lilac-y tones out of the Danessa Myricks Nudist palette. It has tons, so that's just, you know, the closest one. This is Eve in the Glossier Cloud Paint, and they came out with Eve and Spark at the same time, which to me, it's not exactly the same. Obviously, Eve is going to be deeper and plummier, and Spark is much redder, but very, very similar, and they reminded me of each other in terms of the actual release. And then this right here is Fenty Drama Class, which you can see is a much cooler, more true purple, you know? So this is Joy from Rare Beauty right here. This is Cherry Dip, is that what it's called? Cherry Splash from the M Cosmetics Color Drops. This is, like I said, Glossier Spark. And then this right here is Rituel de Fille Bloodflower. And they are very translucent, like I said, in terms of the actual texture and the formula on the skin, whereas you can see there are a lot of nuanced differences between these formulas. The Fenty is similar in its translucence, but it's much less dewy. The Cloud Paints spread out and dry down completely. The M Cosmetics is very like oily, balmy on the skin, and I don't really like it. I'm not sure if it's oily, but it doesn't ever dry down. It kind of annoys me. That's why I don't really use them that much. The Danessa Myricks is kind of a little bit tackier, and it also is more of a cream. It doesn't really dry down on its own. Same goes for the Kosas. And this is extremely, extremely pigmented. The Rare Beauty, it doesn't really want to spread out in a way that I totally love. It doesn't feather at the edges very easily. It's a little bit annoying. And then this is absolutely beautiful. It's a very, the Rituel de Fille, it's very much a lip and cheek formula because it's so saturated. It works really beautifully on the lips as well. I mean, any of them could, but I feel like that one really lends itself well to it because it's really, really pigmented, but it's also really glossy. And that was their Nectar blushes that they came out with. It's not their like original blushes. So, I'm done jabbering. Let's start in with some product, shall we? I'm going to go in with my Thrive brush here. We're going to go purple on this side. This is going to be an easier one to stay straight on the side-to-side situation. Whenever I do a like luxury versus drugstore or something, I'm always like, wait, which side was which? I'll be able to see this time. It'll be purple, and then this one will be orange. The other thing that this reminded me of was the Faded Clementine color story from M Cosmetics in general, because they are, you know, basically combining purple and orange, and to me it felt very off the wall. I was like, purple and orange together? And then when you see them together, you think, wow, actually that totally works. And the reason that they seem weird is because I might not be the first and foremost person to use that collection. It really looks better on skin tones that can tolerate a little bit more saturation to the pigments, and that, you know, orange tends to flatter deeper skin tones depending on the undertone. So, I mean, lots of people can wear orange. I can't wear like true orange all that well, but that's what this exercise is for. So, that's quite purple. Mind you, everything turns slightly pink on me. I've got blue underneath my skin, especially in my lips, and it's going to counterbalance a lot of yellow even in a purple. And so you'll see, yes, it's going very cool toned, kind of bruisey on me a little bit, and it is accentuating the cooler tones in my freckles, which is like not the most flattering thing in the world. I don't hate it, but it's not ideal. And that is the product of it kind of canceling out, like the yellow and the purple canceling each other out. I'm gonna pull out a different brush and we're going to go into this shade right here, Tangerine, a goodly amount of pigment. Oh, can you imagine that on a really, really deep skin tone? Ooh, so, I have to think. Again, I love color theory, but I've lost count of how many times people have asked me to do a video on like how to find your undertone. I'm not a makeup artist, and so I only work on myself. And that's what's so hard. I don't want to tell you guys the wrong thing. And so I would have to kind of do some mental gymnastics. Like, if you're olive complected, it means that you have a little bit of yellow and green in your skin, which would mean that it would cancel out anything purple, so that you would think would make everything turn orange on you probably, right? So you would want to use something kind of purpley. Am I right? I'm having a conversation with you guys where you can't talk back to me, but please, please, if you're olive complected, let me know in the comments, like, what are the colors that look best on you? Orange is the opposite of blue. Purple is the opposite of yellow. So orange would probably look best on people with like red undertones then, right? Or, oh no. See, this is why I don't make videos that are entirely like, oh, here's how this works, is because when I get outside of my experience on my own face, I get confused. So let me know, especially deep-skinned people out there, be like, orange works on my skin because my undertones are X. I would love to know, and I will commit it to memory, and I will give you credit going forward. Be like, thank you very much for educating me. So yes, this is, if you look at that, it looks almost there, but not quite, because you can see the blue in my lips. And then this is almost there, but not quite, because it's pulling very cool and it's pulling very pretty, but it still doesn't really look like something that would naturally occur in my skin. And we're going to do that on both sides. I'm gonna go with Finesse here on my lips, and I'm actually going to swatch the new shades against lip colors as well, so that you can see, because these are intended to be lip and cheek colors. So I'll leave the hexadecimal code downstairs in the description box for Finesse, my own personal shade. If you're unfamiliar with Finding Ferdinand, it is a brand where you pay 30 bucks and you can make your own lipstick color. And the hexadecimal code, as long as you use the same code that I used, it will come out exactly the same. So you can see here, I only compared 2 to each one. You know, these are the 2 new Salt New York. This is Fenty Mauve Wives, which is one of my faves. This is Finesse. Again, this is just a color story that I love to wear. This is Cosmetics Faded Clementine Lip Cushion Tinted Luminizer. That was worth all of the fumbling that I did. And then this is Divine, the shade that I made on Finding Ferdinand. So we'll go on one side with Finesse. And I'll go on the other side with Cosmetics. I think that that's actually the closest one, but I'm gonna spread it out so that it's as like thin. Again, this is something that I think is just such a relevant comparison, because I think that they probably were going for these shades for very similar reasons, Cosmetics and Salt New York, just that they are mixing mediums for a lot of people, but mixing media, I guess, but they also serve the purpose of looking really, really good and native on deeper skin tones. So, orange, purple, lilac. And next I'm going to really drive this home with this palette. So this is the Faded Clementine colorway of the Cosmetics Divine Skies palette. So I will go with these 2 shades right here. I'm going to go with just like a touch of this purpley, and it's actually a purple that shifts orange, which is just absolutely wild to me. And I'm just gonna put a little bit on since we're gonna layer them up. And then I will go with the orange one and just do a little bit. Oh my God, I love that color. Oh, Pumpkin Spice Dreams, look at that. Whew, that is so pretty. This is definitely the thumbnail. Anyway, this is a really, really agreeable formula. The Divine Skies palette, especially the creamy, shimmery ones, they spread out really easily. Everybody's making, not everybody, but I keep seeing these one and done eyeshadow videos, and I think that there's this misconception that like you have to buy an individual pan of eyeshadow for it to be a one and done, and that like, you know, companies are specifically releasing shadow formulas that are supposed to be worn alone. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, anything can be a one and done shadow. I don't hate to break it to you. I should just be like, you know, hey, guess what? You have the freedom to use anything as a one and done eyeshadow. You don't have to like spend $40 on it. It can just be one eyeshadow in a palette you already have. You just spread it out all the way and you got a one and done eyeshadow. So that orange spreads out quite a bit easier and is a little bit less pigmented than the purple, which is good news. It means when we layer them on top of each other, they might actually come together, but I'm gonna do a little bit more, try and get a little bit more of the effect, you know? And there's a matte orange and a matte purple in this collection too, in this palette, but if we go too far down that road, we will know the difference between one being on top and one being on the bottom, and that's not the effect that I'm trying to achieve. There you have it. You have an entire face of purple. You have an entire half a face, I guess, of orange. And now I want you to see what happens when I apply the opposite on the opposite, and I will speed through this without talking. I'm going to throw in all the finishing touches here, and then we will chat about these products, the prices and everything, and then jump into final thoughts. I'll be right back. So this is the vibe, side to side. They're pretty much the same to the best of my ability, and it's interesting because obviously they kind of cancel each other out. One is very, very warm and one is very, very cool. They're not exactly opposites on the color wheel. We're not talking about a yellow blush and a pure purple blush, but as far as they apply to skin tones, that's kind of what you can expect from them. And like I said, you know, if these two things were to just live on my skin without a bronzer or anything skin colored, the color theory does sort of fall flat. You are, at the end of the day, at least I am, editorializing on my skin with these colors. They're not particularly, either of them, super, super, super native to my skin. I'm not gonna be able to get a believable contour or like a believable bronzer out of them. But as far as making a flattering blush tone, I think that this makes a really, really good combo, and it's nice to be able to dial it up or dial it down depending on whether you want warm or cool. And of course you can layer it on top of anything else, like the new, for example, it's not that similar to it, it's more like spice, honestly, but this is the Bichette shade in the Baby Cheeks blush stick from Westman Atelier, the new one. So I'm gonna have a new Westman Atelier video coming out soon. I got 2 of their lip glosses as well, so that's a lot of fun. But I'm not going to incorporate that today. But regardless, even if that's like a little bit too cherry red, this is going to be able to dial that back. I'm going to, you know, get a lot of use out of specifically this one because it very much serves the purpose of my Finesse lipstick. So, okay, let's chat cost and everything here real quick. saltnewyork.com. I do have 30% off bundles. So if you're looking to get a palette and fill it with stuff, I have the code Kackie 30, and that will get you 30% off that. So, Spring Duo Tangerine and Lilac. You can get the duo for $25 right now. Tangerine, an absolute, Kackie. Wised up today. Oh, I've got baby fingerprints all over my glasses. Tangerine, an absolutely juicy, vibrant, delicious, true orange. Lilac, luscious, tender purple with a slight rose undertone. This set includes 2 Lip and Cheek Cream Tint Pro pans, but does not include a palette. Lip and Cheek Cream Tint Pro, hydrating but not glossy, the perfect flush of color for people allergic to looking like they tried. Kakkie's so clever. Buttery soft, easy to blend, and offers sheer buildable coverage with a soft skin-like finish. They're chock full of nourishing, hydrating, credit score raising ingredients like pomegranate, jojoba, and grapeseed oils, and contain absolutely zero nonsense ingredients like talc, artificial fragrance, or mineral oil. I don't know why I had trouble saying that. Vegan and cruelty-free, non-comedogenic, hand-poured in New York City, so fresh, so clean, so fresh, and so clean, clean. Zero waste packaging. We designed the system to be as good for the planet as it is for your face. We spent months talking to recycling experts and researching all the ways we could deliver these precious square babies to y'all without compromising standards. We landed on simple envelopes that are both recyclable and made from post-consumer materials. Where did my little envelope go? This is what it looks like. Kackie has this tattooed on her. They have small insert in the front to protect the tins, but don't worry if your pan becomes intimate with the insert and things get a little messy. It's perfectly normal for the tint to get on the back of the insert and won't affect the quality of your product at all. 0.15 ounces each. Yep, if you do that, it's $25 for those 2. If you do a bundle, it says bundles, baby. The $20 mini palette, the $35 large palette, which I will show you guys here. This is the big guy, and then this is the mini. And the Cream Tint Pro are $16 a piece. Oh, they also have use code BUNDLE at checkout to get 30% off your order. Either way, use my code or don't use my code, you get 30% off. So I think that that's what it is. It's like, you don't necessarily get a bargain just for bundling, but if you bundle it, if you like fill your palette, you get 30% off. And you can use my code if you want me to get credit for it, basically. I've definitely thought about just buying the palettes on their own though, because I have a lot of stuff that has pans that can punch out. And I mean, it is at the end of the day, a palette for anything magnetic, not just the Cream Tint Pros, so there's that too. I'm gonna move y'all out. So you'll know, I am more than familiar, I'm intimately familiar with these products and this formula, and Kakkie's a friend of mine, so I'm not claiming that this is some kind of unbiased review of these products. It's more a tour of these particular shades and how I think of them, how they fit into my routine, how they fit into my collection, what I wanted to compare them to for, you know, usefulness' sake. And now that everything's had a chance to kind of breathe on my skin for a minute, you can see that these are really, really lovely adjuster shades that you can get something really beautiful out of if you buy the combo. They're almost like 2 shades that you can use to dial up or dial down the rosiness of your cheeks in terms of temperature, and you can use them also with like anything else as well. So I have instances in all of my looks where I want to go really warm, and a lot of times it does happen when I'm done with a look, and a lot of times when I want it to kind of look cool. And if you ever get done doing your makeup and you're like, I don't know why this doesn't look right, sometimes it's because your eyes are really cool and so they're looking really sunken in, and then your cheeks are really warm and so they're kind of coming forward, and you're not accentuating the parts of your face that you thought you were accentuating depending on the palette you chose or the blushes that you chose. And this is a really, really great way. It's a super translucent formula so that you can, you know, layer something on top, just add a little touch here or there, and it will start to make everything look a little bit more at home and like congruous together. So that is just a little trick that I use when I get done with a full face of makeup. If something just needs a little tweak, is these kinds of adjuster shades, and that's why I own them in just about every single formula that there is. So I hope that this was a valuable lesson in color theory, and I hope it was also a valuable, I don't know, look at these new products from Salt New York. I know I've been getting a ton of you guys asking if I was going to review them, so here you go. And if you did find this valuable, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, guys, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.